Welcome, everyone, to Catholic Sunday Scriptures in Context. This is a ministry of the Augustinian Order, as well as St. Paul and St. Augustine parishes in Philadelphia. Today we are focusing on the 26th Sunday in Ordinary Time. Our first reading comes from the book of Numbers, which is part of the Torah. And this book was written over the course of hundreds of years, just given all the lists of names and who was related to who. It certainly couldn't have been written in one sitting. Today's story also is in the book of Exodus. And what happens before the reading that we have today is that the people are grumbling against manna. They've eaten it, and they're sick of it. And so they're complaining to Moses, and then Moses is tired of hearing their complaints. And so God gives Moses some relief. And so he calls all of the tribes together, and he chooses two people, not two people, 6 people from each tribe. And this is the 72. So there were 70 plus the other 2. And 2 of them were not able to come, yet they begin to prophesy. And Moses says, hey, don't hold them back. If God gives them the Spirit, who am I to restrict them? And so God gives a Spirit to whomever he chooses. And that's going to be a major point of today's gospel, because the apostles want to stop people from healing in the name of Jesus. So we'll see that. So that's what we just talked about. Would that all the people of the Lord were prophets. Would that the Lord might bestow his Spirit on them all. Our second reading comes from the letter to James, and this is an explicit critique of wealth that has been gained through the exploitation of others. Landowners who don't equally or equitably distribute the earnings from the property to their laborers. And they keep it for themselves, and then they accumulate clothing and jewelry and houses. And, James says, all this is going to decay, and yet the people who need it are not getting it, And this was a common issue that was discussed at the time of the Romans. I think even Seneca wrote some stuff about the injustice of the accumulation of wealth. James equates it with murder, because you're depriving people of their living. Your wealth has rotted away. Your clothes have become moth-eaten. Behold, the wages you withheld from the workers who harvested your field are crying aloud. You have murdered the righteous one. Very strong words here, that we Christians are called to be attentive to those less fortunate. And, we don't have to impoverish ourselves, but we certainly have to be attentive to other people's needs. And lastly, this Gospel of Mark. So it's really divided into 2 parts. In the first part here, someone expels a demon in the name of Jesus, but he's not one of the disciples. And so the disciples want to stop this from happening. And Jesus says, why do you want to stop somebody from doing good? If they're using my name to do it and it works and it benefits people, just like in the first reading, would that they all be prophets, would that everybody should do that. The last part of the gospel is just some sayings, not really connected to this story, but, and Jesus uses some real time law consequences, like the cutting off of hands or the poking out of eyes. Those were the practices among many of the Middle Eastern peoples here. And, that line, whoever is not against us is for us. And so, they saw someone driving out demons, and we tried to prevent him because he does not follow us. And Jesus says, do not prevent him. There is no one who performs a mighty deed in my name who can at the same time speak ill of me. And then these other lines are that, for whatever they're worth. If you please pray for peace, and if you think this is helpful, please pass it on. Thank you very much.